Hello everyone. Welcome. We've got an exciting webinar today, navigating the changing role of PM or product managers. As you settle in and come in, please share where you're located, your name, location. You want to share if you're a fellow product manager or in a different role, you can type that in also. We are from all over. I'm here with Rina. I'm Cynthia, by the way, everyone. Hello.
Hi, everyone. As Cynthia was saying, we're just going to wait another minute for people to join. But I always like to remind people that it becomes a lot easier to ask the questions that really matter if you start out by talking and saying just anything. So we want to invite you to just post your name, your location, maybe even if you're, as Cynthia suggested, if you're in product or moving into product or thinking about it or a product leader for many years, we just would love to hear a little bit more about who's joining us today. So I think I'm gonna. That's me.
So mine's interesting because the slide is going to say one thing, but in
Uh,
reality, I'm located somewhere else. So I'm going to say where I am physically located.
yeah, I figured you would. Okay, well, as people are filtering in, let's just get started.
Hey, Clint from Kansas City. Imagine weather's nice right now. All right. So, welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have this amazing topic today, navigating the changing role of PM. And I am Cynthia, COO at Productside. Rina is going to be sharing so much knowledge about this topic. And with that, Rina, I want to invite you to say a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Rina Alexin. I'm the CEO of Productside, residing right now in Austin, Texas. And as Cynthia was saying, normally she's sitting right next to me here in Austin. I've been with the company now, Productside, for many of you who know. We used to be called 280 Group. We've been around for over 25 years. And I've been at the helm here for the past 8 years, really enjoyed positioning us as more than just a training partner, but a transformation partner. And Cynthia, why don't you maybe quickly introduce a little bit about what you do at Productside as well?
Thanks, Rina. So I'm Cynthia Petti. I'm the COO at Productside, and I've been here through what Rina called 280 Group. And I do a little bit of everything. One of the cool things that I get to step out and wear several hats, which is engage all of you on this webinar. Not my day to day, so you might hear me say some ums and trip over my words, but please be patient because I promise you, you're going to get some excellent learning material today. And I also do some customer servicing, finance, anything that needs a little bit of touches from me, that's where you will find me. So thank you so much for coming. And again, we're just happy to have you. One of the things is keep sharing your name, where you're at. It's always great to engage. And first of all, welcome. And I want to introduce you to more about Productside and the team behind today's webinar. So we know how hard it can be to deliver products people not only use, but that they truly love. So whether it's aligning your stakeholders, predicting customer needs, or managing the backlogs, we've seen it all. So we are here and we are outcome driven. We are your product partner. So we don't just provide the solutions, but we tailor them to everyone's unique challenges. And these are complete solutions for transformation from strategy to execution. And we're with you every step of the way. Tailored expertise. Your challenges are unique, and so are the solutions. Lastly, our invested experts who are busy right now doing so many amazing things with our clients because they are an extension of your team. We are obsessed with your success. We are your number one fan. So we are there step by step with you. And again, thanks so much for joining because number one question we get, will you get a recording? Will you be able to get a recording of this? And the answer is absolutely yes. Every single one of you is going to get a recording. So if you happen to have to drop off, don't worry, we'll get this to you. The other thing is use the chat. Please, please use the chat. The more engagement, the more questions, the more value every single one of you is going to get from this learning. And I'll be helping Rena along the way to monitor those chats. So just know if for some reason it was skipped over, it might just be that we're going to touch on it at the end. All right. Thanks so much. Lastly, we believe in community. We value our product managers and building that community in LinkedIn. So you can scan this QR code, you can join our community, you get best practices, you hear from other product managers and other product leaders that are there in the trenches with you, and we always learn from each other. So I just wanted to highlight that. Keep in touch and keep in touch with other people that you normally don't see or are around virtually. All right.
Wonderful, Cynthia. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining. I see some familiar names, Sarah Boynton. Hi. And obviously Joe Golly. It's so nice to see some familiar names and some new ones. Why are we here today? Well, we're here today because the job description we wrote 4 years ago, and even maybe 2 years ago, doesn't match the role we have today. A few years ago, the job of product management, I wouldn't say was very clear because it's one of the most common issues we see across all organizations is role clarity. But we kind of understood it that we owned the backlog, wrote requirements, ran stand-ups in some ways. Fundamentally, for many product managers, they felt that they just got a handle of how they can really succeed in their career. And then the ground moved. AI showed up. Engineering is now no longer the bottleneck. The clean handoffs, if they were clean between product and design, engineering, all of it started to blur. And the market got loud very fast, right? I mean, how many of us, for those of us who are on LinkedIn, see every day PM is dead, learn this tool, here's my like 10 stacks of Claude skills you must use today. It is quite insane. But what do we do to it? We do what we always do. We try our best to really understand where is the signal from the noise. We read articles, we watch YouTube, we attend webinars like this, and even that can be confusing because there's just so much noise, even more noise with AI also helping. So that is my goal today, is to try to articulate some of the shifts that we're genuinely seeing, that product leaders and product managers are actually struggling with, and make sense of it. And We're going to talk about the role, we're going to talk about what's changed and what didn't change. And once you start to see these shifts clearly, my hope is that the noise gets quiet, that you'll have a filter to really sort things out for yourself. So, how are product people responding to AI? It's a huge shift. You've probably seen both of these kinds of responses. You might even be living in one right now. Some, and I would say more and more few, product leaders and organizations are responding with a defensive stance. They're defending the territory. They're saying, we're going to wait out this hype cycle. It's going to burn off. It's not going to turn into anything. What's going to be most important is to protect the way the job used to work. Of course, the risk there is that while this person is waiting, two desks, two doors, whatever down, that other person isn't, and the gap is compounding between these. The second response is quite the opposite. It is, we have to adopt AI everywhere, every release, every tool, ticking the box, ship this faster. And somewhere in this rush, certain critical questions get skipped. while might be feeling like they're moving fast, they could also be moving fast in the wrong direction. And that's why we're here to talk about a third response. It's about, it's not about the tools anymore. It's really about the role and where we should spend our time to future-proof our careers. So I want to start by asking the first poll. Can we get the poll kicked off? Cynthia, do you want to go over this poll?
Yeah, so we have here which response to the AI shift sounds more like you right now? So are you waiting it out? It feels like a hype. Do you want to engage but don't know where to start? Are you experimenting but it's scattered? There's no real system. You're adopting it fast and maybe faster? And you've stopped asking, should we, and only ask, can we? And there might even be an area that comes to mind that isn't within these options. And I would encourage you, if that's where you're at, feel free to write it in the chat and share with us. And we definitely have quite a few people answering right now. It's interesting to see where it's going.
Yeah.
I see a lot of exploration. So
I'm
this is
honestly not
great.
surprised to see these results. So I'm going to, since we have enough participation, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. I'm honestly so happy that none of you are waiting it out. This also is very true. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but we do have this AI survey, and above 80, I want to say like 95% of product managers are using AI in some way, some shape or form. But this experimenting, not feeling like you really know where it truly belongs, I hear that over and over with my conversations and masterminds and product leaders and executive dinners. Like it is true that most people are in that third bucket, and I see it reflected here. So that's the point, right? What you're feeling is real, and our goal at Productside is trying to articulate that in some, and I love to use, right, like as many product people, a good two by two. We're going to use one today to try to make sense of it all. So we're going to give you four major shifts that you can name and really understand and maybe even plan around. And hopefully, once you see these shifts, you're not going to be able to unsee them. You're going to be able to start spotting them in your own team. And if you're looking for jobs, like I saw a team member is, maybe even in the job posts you read. This is also a webinar at Productside. We like to get practical. So my goal is also to provide you with some real actions that you could take even today, and at least a few takeaways that you could take to your colleagues if other people are also feeling confused. So let's get started. What are the four shifts? Well, the two by two we're going to use are essentially around internal and external. So it's trying to split what is happening within your role, within the essentially what's happening on your team, how you create value with people and tools and your stakeholders. And essentially, it's around the way product is getting built. I think that a lot of people, this is where they're spending a lot of their time and energy, especially those, thought leaders on LinkedIn. And then the external shifts are also really important to note. And this is less about how you create value with your team and more how you create value for the people you serve, your customer, market, business outcomes that you're trying to generate. And I think that's actually where the bar is rising the most. So keep this map in your head as we move on in this presentation. So this, and I want to say that a few years ago, we started, or no, maybe it's like 1 year ago now, we started saying we're heading into something called the Great Compression. And that really is describing the way these roles of design or UX and engineering and PM are starting to feel like essentially smushed. Like the clean lines are going away. There's not as many handoffs. Before, right, you would, as a product manager, you would do voice of the customer research, you would understand requirements, you would go and work with design, UX teams, then that gets passed to engineering, and there were clear lanes. But now AI is collapsing a lot of these lanes. It's going to help you draft the PRD. It can mock up a flow. It can even write the first pass of code. And that's kind of the shift of the great compression. It's that some of this work is now getting taken over by another team member, AI. So the work, though, isn't leaving. And the question that I think a lot of product leaders are dealing with is what are the new expectations? Regardless
Hmm.
of roles and titles, there is no longer a true need for three full-time or four FTEs to do the same job. Now, the caveat here is that this isn't a smaller job, it's actually a bigger one. Um, but it is the biggest question, I think, on a lot of leaders' minds of, well, how do we actually compress? What does it look like in our organization? Because accountability has to stay with people. AI is not
Yeah.
accountable.
And to your point, Rena, every organization is in a different area. They're landing somewhere, they're starting new, or they're further along on adopting this. So this is a great conversation piece and a thing to consider is that compression.
Yeah. And I think this is actually this is a reality where there's also a lot of fear mongering right now happening with AI of the reality of, well, if it's there's no longer a need for as many full-time employees, well, there's going to be job losses. But I am more optimistic and bullish that there's also a lot more economic opportunity that is being generated. Similarly, with other shifts, and many people have talked about this, an industrial revolution, and this is a revolution that we're going through. It is going to hurt and create displacement. I'm not arguing that, but I do find that there's a lot of opportunity if we can articulate these shifts and know how to leverage them and become more powerful as a result. So my goal right now is just to articulate it, not to shy away from saying that this isn't going to create some pain for some people. Our goal is to understand how do we make the most of it in our careers. Because I do think that AI is not going to be accountable. It stops with people. So there are people in the room that will actually get a lot more power and more ownership of decisions. And if
Hmm.
you're a person that in your organization you really, really enjoy building, owning, this is a really exciting time. There's another shift from an internal point of view that uh, is is really about creating systems. So the way I like to describe this is to think about an air traffic controller, right? Their job is not to fly the planes, it's to just make sure that all the planes know where they're flying. They're not going to hit other planes. So every time that controller makes a call, all the planes and passengers, they feel it. And I think that is also the system orchestrator role is becoming even more important for product management because I and I see it, right? Cynthia, like in my conversations with product leaders, oftentimes product management is being seen as almost like the leader in AR transformation at their organization because the role already used to interact with just about every other
Yeah.
role. And so great product managers and great product leaders are already system thinkers. So that's probably also why we see so much confusion and experimentation right now with trying to understand where does this, we know that this is going to be powerful, where does it really fit in?
Hmm. And also just replicating, to your point, systems.
Right. But this is something to be also just aware of as a product professional, if you are not currently understanding your role as a system orchestrator, that's something to lean into because I think it's going to be extremely important as we reinvent how work happens, not just roles and titles, but also how the system actually works. So the takeaway here is I don't think the PM role is going away. I also don't think it's getting smaller. In fact, if you feel in some ways that it's getting bigger, I think that's true. I think that the some of what AI is doing is removing, I don't have a better name from it, but busy work in some cases. And what's left is something very strategic, very human oriented. It's the decision making, the calls, the insights and the judgment. And I think, again, and I'm going to say it probably repeatedly throughout this presentation, I'm very bullish on product people because of the, there's no other role in the organization that I'm aware of that really knows how to marry strategy, strategic system thinking, strategy, customer understanding and empathy. Like these are things that are not, like AI is not good at. And and also understands the technical aspect. So not does not shy away from new technology. So we're about to go into two more shifts before we go into like what do we actually do about it. But before we do, I do want to invite you all to contribute. We're currently running a state of AI maturity survey that's interested to find out, well, how are product managers and product leaders at various organizations adopting AI. The survey takes all of 10 minutes to take. We are going to be coming up with the final results and insights later this month. So it's going to come out really quickly. We do have well over 250 responses already. But if you want to chime in, now is essentially the final time to be able to do it. So if you want to contribute to this, please, I welcome you. I think there's a link already in the chat. All right, let's cover the other shifts. And these are, we talked about there is a shift in terms of role expectations, potential gaps that will result as organizations might start to expect more out of their product people. And we talked about the importance of building systems. Now we're going to shift a little bit to the external point of view. What are we seeing out in the market? Well, I'm going to bring in like another analogy here, and that is one of like a busy restaurant. Let's say that that restaurant has solved, and I apologize if there is an echo, but let's say that restaurant has solved a way to cook any meal in 5 minutes. Every order is going to be 5 minutes. Well, that means that cooking the actual meal is no longer a bottleneck. But if a waiter takes 20 minutes to take an order, if it takes 15 minutes to run an order out, there are going to be other bottlenecks that emerge. And that is what we're seeing as well. Because the bottleneck is no longer how you build, now I would say the bottleneck is more in some of the things that are so crucial, so important, and rarely get their due investment. So let's first talk about the possible bottlenecks upstream, because I kind of view upstream as the more important one. And when I speak with leaders about why I think, again, I'm bullish on product, I think about, well, who else in the organization is going to be really a change agent? Um, Engineers, maybe. I've heard the term product engineer sometimes, and it is possible. I mean, many product managers come with engineering backgrounds. Some come with designer backgrounds. But again, if I think in any business, who really understands the business, the market, and the technology, it's always product. And product managers, great ones, already have the tools for how to solve these bottlenecks. That's why I'm bringing this up. Possible bottlenecks are around not having really good, well-defined problems, not understanding who you're solving these problems for, and completely misunderstanding the jobs to be done. So essentially, this is all about context gathering and running discovery. And my hope is that with AI, being able to be very good at some of the execution phases of product management, this puts more time in the product manager's day to be able to do much more of this deep discovery research work. because just because you can build something or just because somebody requested something from you, it doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable. Uh, there are so many examples of, and I think we kind of note some of them in the downstream impacts of you feel like you have a full feature set for product, and yet the person who is signing up doesn't get activated. They never get to their aha moment. They use one feature, are unaware of the rest. In fact, with more and more features that you can create, you can end up in a situation where there's significant feature bloat, where your critical, like your users, the user experience completely suffers. And if the user experience suffers, your usage suffers and it won't spread. So again, these are the new bottlenecks, and the real way to avoid them is to gather context and practice great judgment. This is this has always been crucial. This has
I was
always
going to
been
say, this is nothing new. This has
yeah, it's
always
nothing
been
new,
there.
but the judgment gap is more visible today. If you were a product manager who got very good at your job on execution, on getting things out on time, that's no longer going to make you, stand head and shoulders above your colleagues. Instead, it's are you really good at gathering context, market understanding, customer understanding in order to make great decisions? It's no longer the case that you can hide also behind slow development because, as we just talked about, development is no longer the bottleneck. And so, this external shift of, and I almost want to call it like external internal because it requires that product managers really take the strategic helm at their companies. So, for some product managers, I do think that this shift is quite terrifying. For
Well,
others,
especially, you just mentioned things have compressed. Congratulations, everyone. You got promoted to do more work, right? Everyone's doing more. And how do we leverage to work smarter and critically in it?
and know what to delegate to AI and what to keep. Uh, because this shift is the one that I think if I think about it, there are product or CTOs who are wondering if they can create an AI brain to do product,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
I think at least where the technology is today and where I see it, unless we really are in super, super intelligence where we're not right now, uh, that would be a mistake. Because while AI is really good at ingesting data and finding some insights, it doesn't think super creatively. It doesn't always see all of the different patterns that we as strategic thinkers can. And for some product managers, that's why I'm saying if you are truly somebody who loves to own decisions, who really understands your market, who loves to think strategically, this is amazing. This is like a super empowering moment. But if you don't yet feel like you have spent enough time working on your discovery skills, this can feel a little upsetting. So we're going to go into our second poll.
Yeah. So think of a shift that you're least ready for, and we have some options, and we appreciate your candor and vulnerability here, right? The work is collapsing into me faster than I can keep up. That's something we've heard. I'm still grooming a backlog and not designing a system, right? Still a lot to do. My team measures me on what ships versus what's worth shipping, the value. And I can't tell if my judgment would hold up in the open, right? Where are you? And again, these are things that you can answer. And if you see something that doesn't fit you, go ahead and write it in the chat. And everyone is it's like we're all in this together, and the more we learn together, the better. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing a good mix here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give it one more second. I
Okay,
see some
everyone
more
can
people chiming in,
you can
but
lock in or change back and
yeah.
forth.
It's not significantly changing the outcome, so I'm going to end the poll right here.
Okay.
Sharing the results, it's almost, I mean, it was very much an even split for a pretty good chunk of us waiting, but it looks like the top three are the ones where people are feeling the shift or like are least ready for it. So I'm happy to hear that judgment is not on the list at all. So well done, everyone. But if the work is collapsing faster than you, that can feel completely overwhelming. If you
Hmm.
are not yet designing the system that doesn't position you well in your organization, right? For how do you become a real leader in this, I'll say it again, a revolution. And yeah, if your measurement is still on what ships, that can be really problematic, really problematic. So I definitely feel you. Okay, so what can you do? We're going to end into come into a couple of the more active things.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna see James commented he's being told to adopt AI by chain of command, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter as long as he can showing usage.
You know, James, again, not alone. I love to ask this question, and we actually do it in our state of AI maturity survey, but a lot of times organizations are measuring the ROI of their AI by usage versus connecting it to true business outcomes. In fact, I think based on the data, like earlier sample, only 16% of organizations connected AI value to like actual business value. Isn't that crazy? Most of them do some kind of productivity metric, and
Yeah,
make it a little easier to measure. It is interesting to think if if anyone is measuring based on token usage, because there's certainly quite a lot of that.
that's kind of pricey.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So judgment is a job is part of our message today. So the way that we're going to position product management is making sure that judgment is still something that you practice and that you like I guess preach as well. So here's three habits that will help you make sure that you maintain judgment and decision making. First is that use AI as a learning partner because it's absolutely table stakes. So we've kind of established that everybody here is already using AI. I'm not going to harp on it, but if if anybody listens to this recording and you're not one in this camp, then the only good news I have for you is that the learning curve is actually fairly fast. Um, you can literally use LLMs to help you learn AI. That's my favorite way to do it. Second habit, and this one's really critical. People are talking about like atrophy, thinking. If you delegate too much of your thinking to AI, your skills will atrophy. This is true, by the way. So it's a critical thing is that rather than dumping all of your thoughts and making AI kind of make all your calls for you, you really need to make AI stress test your thinking rather than think for you. I also like to point out that AI LLMs I mean, they're all a little different in their personalities, if I can say that, but a lot of them lean towards agreeing with you. And so I also like to make sure that you're making your AI coach or partner in a way that creates a more sharper output from you. So really have it not agree with you. Don't let it like validate your confirmation bias because it'll do that. So have it be your thought partner, not think for you, and really use it to stress test. And then the third part is that we kind of mentioned it. Yeah, a lot of you are experimenting with a lot of tools. There's there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of Oh man, I just invested in this tool and I trained my entire team, but this tool actually solves my problem even better. Can we switch? Right, there's a lot of that going on right now. I'm not surprised because of just how fast the technology is changing. So assume that tools are going to change much more quicker than they have in the past. We're going to estimate like any single tool to only have an 18-month shelf life. As a result, I really encourage people to invest in what is going to compound over time. We kind of talked about it, discovery, judgment, the customer understanding and empathy. These are things that AI is not going to be stellar at any day soon. And so, and you need those skills in order to gather enough context in order to make good decisions. So we recommend don't buy into your tools as though they are going to remain forever. So have an exit strategy for your tools. Think about that when you're onboarding so that change management is easier down the line. But also invest in what is going to transfer because these core skills, these human skills, they are, I want to say, even more important and they're going to really differentiate you in the product market. So, some other things that you could do today. And I have a couple. First, if you're a product manager, and I know in the audience we have some people thinking about going into product, I have one assignment for you, and that is to audit a decision. So, as we've been talking about, decision making still very human. It's what makes your role more human, not less, in the age of AI. And essentially, the goal here is to try to pull up the last decision, the last product decision that was made. Let's say it was to build something. Like we were like saying yes to this, to investing in this feature. Uh, Pick one that wasn't just obvious, like wasn't easy, like that it wasn't complete feature parity, table stakes type of feature, but one that had true stakes, maybe some real money, some real investment, and a consequence if you got it wrong. Then find the moment that someone asks, like, well, should we really be doing this? Not can we, not how fast can we do it, but should we? And if you can't find it, maybe you missed it. But the goal here is to really understand why, like the why behind this decision. Like, why should you do it? And try to really, really understand that. Uh, I hope that this is coming through clear. But if if there really aren't any decisions that you can practice with, then I'll have a different assignment for you is to start a decision journal for your decisions. I can provide one for you, but you could probably even ask an LLM, can you
Give
get me a
me,
decision journal?
yeah.
This one's really important. I do it as a leader. I do it all the time. Like if there's a critical decision, we have them like a person I want to hire. Then I not only record the why, the risks, the second and third order consequences, I also set a date to review it. Did I get it right? And so that retrospective is the learning moment. And if you're not, you might actually be already doing these as part of your retros if you are great, but if not, really understand how do you answer should we do it? Like how do you answer the why question? Because that one is going to be the most important. As building becomes super cheap, you're going to have to be asking that over and over and over again.
And we have a question, Rena, and
Sure.
this is a really good point. The auditing a decision, and you're relating it to the product, whether it was a feature, whether it was something specific on the why and should we. And there's a good point on product judgment, right? The question has to do the organization they're currently in really values release of features faster than the product judgment in itself. So the question is, how do we advocate for ourselves in that kind of organization? And I think you have something coming up about that.
Well, let me, yes, I do. We're going to go into how product leaders can support this, but let me answer directly is that I think people get really confused between outputs and outcomes. And it's a lot easier often to measure that we just did something versus the outcome. But you also can't measure an outcome without an output. that's something that I also like to remind people that if you're being rewarded for getting things out the door, then as a product manager, the first step that I would do is start measuring the success. So start asking in your meetings questions around what is the why, like what is our actual goal of what we are trying to accomplish with this, and how are we going to measure it? And then you can celebrate the output has been released, but also report back the actual measurement of did we even achieve the goal? And I think that, showing the data to people in this way really has them start to question if those outputs don't achieve anything, then are we even doing the right thing? So that's what I like to recommend whenever I hear this around we're like celebrating the output but not outcomes. Well, you got to really define those outcomes, be the team member to do that. If you're able to do this, if I mean, I don't know what kind of organization there is that you say, well, why are we doing this? And they don't even want to know. Like, I think most people have like some assumptions that they're just not clarifying and not writing down. And so if you could take those assumptions around this is going to sell more business or this is going to help reduce our sales cycle to this many days, like really find that measurable that people care about that they're just assuming and not saying out loud, and then actually measure it. That's how you change the culture. Because then you're going to start to hear, and I love it when we go into organizations that are like this and we show them a different way of talking about outcomes, the vernacular at that organization starts to change. And that's the way to do it. So I do want to, before we go to the next one, I do want to say this is, like I said, if you're in the camp of we audit our decisions all the time, we have a great measurement, we have all of the success factors, all of it. I have a different assignment for you. It's just a bonus. It's not in a slide. Um, 2 hours, no AI on your calendar. Use that time to practice one of the skills that we mentioned around discovery and research that you think you're weakest in. It could be book some customer interviews, could be framing a problem. Maybe it is like the outcomes, like actually defining the why behind a feature. Don't work with AI for it. I mean, you can after the 2 hours, but really work on that skill set because AI is a huge leverage point, but and at Productside we say it all the time, it's an amplification. And so what it amplifies is these fundamental skills. So if you're really good at experimentation and discovery, you are going to be really good at understanding when that AI output is helping you instead of hurting you. And if you're not good at these fundamentals, it's going to be really hard for you to really understand uh, the signal from the noise. So, leaders, what can you do? Well, there's two things for you as well. Um, The first one is be the leader who is helping do the audit. So take a different role. I mean, you could also do the same assignment as the product managers, but I find it as in your role as leader, you are supposed to be helping to coach. And I think this is a really good learning moment. And so my recommendation is sit with the last decision made, but with the product manager who is maybe accountable for that product and try to suss out, did judgment show up or was this just output? Did they think about the why of what we're trying to accomplish or did they just skip it? And I think that this is going to be really, really valuable for you as a leader to start recognizing how does your team grow their judgment skill? Uh, because what you want to prevent, you can't be in all rooms, like you can't be in every single decision. But you want to make sure that people are actually practicing judgment and that they're not, as we said at the beginning, going faster in the wrong direction. So the second one is changing what you reward. And I think a little bit to maybe Cynthia, you were alluding to this, is If you're in an organization like the person who asked the question where velocity and how fast and how efficient or what have you are is what is rewarded, and those questions about why we did something or not, then it's time to step up as a leader and fix what you reward. Because otherwise, you're communicating to your best people that this is how you're going to do your best work. And instead, product is supposed to be all about outcomes. It's supposed to be about how are we achieving success for our business by solving real pain for our customers or users. And if you're not measuring it today, you need to start. So there's no excuse here. Change your scorecard. You could do only one thing this quarter. I think this is going to be the most valuable. So audit a PM's judgment, sit with it, and you could do one person at a time. You could even do that previous, like I said, previous audit your own decision making first so that you can practice, and then figure out how you can properly reward product managers for practicing really good discovery and practicing really good judgment.
So, Rena, based on that, there's another quick question that came up, like for a sales run organization and it's not product led. What here can they leverage to practice that judgment skill, that decision when it's handed top down?
Yeah. So let me understand. So this is a sales-led organization. And then
Hmm.
what could in that, okay, so like basically where sales has a lot more influence over the roadmap. Well, I think there's a couple things here. One is, again, with sales and product, there's always going to be some tension between the short term and long term. And roadmaps are really about what is a business trying to accomplish over the long term. And oftentimes, when sales has a lot of influence over the roadmap, it's because there is this feeling of like significant gaps in the short run. And I want to say in those kinds of situations, a couple of things. One is it's the product manager's job to be much better informed about customers than anybody else in the room. And that includes sales. So
Hmm.
oftentimes these organizations are run this way because it's worked. Sales gets to talk to customers, that's their
All the
whole
time.
day.
Yeah.
So they're often seen as like de facto uh I guess like owners of customer understanding. And so product managers need to like they need to show up understanding like there shouldn't be so many surprises from a product manager's perspective. If you really understand customers, then you would be able to articulate why your roadmap is maybe solving different problems first because it shows up in multiple conversations versus just specific sales conversations. So that's one. And number two is I said it before, a lot of times the people in your organization, they are doing the best they can to move the business forward. I always say this about stakeholders that sometimes in product I hear like frustration and negativity around managing stakeholders, but the reality is like most people are not trying to mess with your job. They're trying to do theirs properly. And they're not necessarily great at articulating all of the assumptions and their even their own deep understanding or their intuition of like the why. So when it comes to sales, influencing the roadmap, and like how do you then make decisions if they're so top down? The best way to do that is to actually go and try to understand the why, the expectations, because sales isn't the person that you are who also understands the impact of how long something takes, like the actual execution element. Most leaders and salespeople completely underestimate.
You mean it's not done tomorrow?
Right, exactly. I do it too, by the way. Like I do it too. So so as a strategic partner, you have to really understand they're doing their best. And your job is to articulate all of those assumptions and know the customer much better so that you can have a case as to why not now. right? You
Hmm.
have to be able to give that back. So, and that's all about how do you make great decisions and practice judgment. Okay, so got only one slide, and then we could go into any further questions. The takeaway I want you to leave with is not that people are not getting or feeling like they might get displaced by AI. We are truly navigating change. There's no ifs and buts about it. Companies are trying to wrestle with like how does work get done in the organization when we have a new partner to work with. Let the machine take your busy work. Let it help you. Let it be a supporting team member, but take over the most human and important parts of the job. On your team, yes, you may be expected to do more than you have in the past. But then you need to find the time, right? You need to delegate some of your other busy work to the machines to help you in order to take on a bit more there. Start thinking in systems and be the one in your organization designing it because somebody will have to. And I do think I'm very bullish on product being the type of person who can lead the way for organizations. Next, and we talked about it quite a bit, if you are all about releasing outputs and not outcomes, you need to make those visible. You need to do that by questioning what assumptions are taking place, making the risks real of making one judgment call over another because you are making a decision and take over that role, that human part of the role, the deciding, the discerning, the knowing the problems, knowing which ones are worth solving, knowing, and I think I said it, knowing the difference between an answer that's right and one just sounds right, because AI is really good at sounding right when it's not. So keep that role. And in that way, I do think that the product management role is going to get more human, more core to being strategic, more gives more ownership to product people to deliver solutions that matter, that people will love. And that's how I think all of us can future-proof our careers. Okay, I'm off my
Thanks,
soapbox
Rina.
here.
No, that's a really
Yeah.
great point. The human element of our work is not going to be lost. It is very much there, and it's very much for us to lean into. And one of the things we want to highlight is get your AI survival kit. How many of you have a long list of prompts that you have used successfully and or you decided those aren't the ones? Guess what? We've taken that thinking off your plate and we have this available to you that has a lot of different prompts that you can utilize. Product leaders, it's geared towards you, but guess what? As a product manager or someone that is leaning towards learning more and leveraging, I highly recommend. Just go ahead and download this.
Yeah, and this one was actually built for product leaders stepping into a new role, like a new leadership role or a new role at a new company. So I love to send this to just about anyone because I think it actually behooves us as product people to audit our process and get improvements on how we work. And so that's a great tool for that.
Yes. And part of our love of giving and who we are as an organization, product side, we're not only doing classes virtually, we're really big on doing things in person. And we're going to be in Chicago in August. So I think it's going to be a pretty nice time. And we have one of our team members, Dean, that's going to be leading the optimal product management course that is going to be taking place. So it's over 3 days, a great opportunity if you thought, hey, I think I want to do this. And it's also a great opportunity to refresh. And yes, Joe's gonna be there. Thanks for
Joe.
joining us, Joe.
Yeah, just also a note for our optimal product management class, for those of you who don't know, it really teaches you end-to-end product management, but AI is part of product management, which is why this class also comes with how do you actually use product management to do exactly what we talked about in this webinar, delegate the busy work, but hold on to your judgment and your decisions.
Yes, it's kind of hard to tell you in 30 seconds everything that happens in these, but definitely amazing time. And hey, Rena, you have an upcoming webinar with Kenny.
I'm talking AI all month. It's amazing. It's my life now. But yeah, so we're gonna go over, so kind of mentioned that we're gonna have this AI State of AI Maturity Report. This is the last week that we're allowing people to just to get your voices heard. But we already have quite a number of people who've responded and some really great insights. We're going to be sharing those insights live just in a couple weeks. But more than just insights like today, we're also going to be sharing, based on what we found, what you might want to be considering at your organization to really step up in the AI game.
Fantastic. And again, here we are, upcoming courses that we have. As we said, we do things live online, which is for you to join virtually as we are now. And we have some coming up here in July and August, and then of course in person in Chicago. And to that point, we also have our AI product management course that goes in depth as you as a product manager, how to leverage and use this and even think more strategically on the application of AI. And we have that coming up in July and September. So just know we are busy um, engaging all of our product management community.
Awesome. So I think we're entering Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to take any questions, any more questions that you might have. I think we have time for a few.
Yeah, yeah, and you can go ahead and just go ahead and type them in. Don't be shy, and we can go over some of these. Rena, I think you went over through a lot of great things, especially the importance of the outcomes and thinking, don't don't lose your what is it, your product management decision. That's really key, the critical piece of it. And do we also have a course for becoming a product manager in a virtual one? Do you want to tell them about that, Rena?
Yeah, so actually, that is our optimal product management course. So that one will go, like I said, it's end to end, everything you need to know about being a product manager, becoming one, or really honing your craft if you have been in the role for a few years. It's essentially it follows our blueprint, which is behind me here. And it comes with a full playbook and a way to take the certification exam from AIPMM, the Certified Product Manager. So something that if you are trying to switch careers, it's just another proof point when you're interviewing that you really understand the critical skills needed. And the class is a great way for you to also practice some skills and have some stories to share during your interview process.
Yeah, there's a lot of exercises that take place in our courses. So I want to say it's not lecture based, it's very engaging as well. Great question.
Okay, I see one here from James. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, so it's a common perception that AI adoption is in a bubble. Do you agree, and do you see adoption to be a slow to a crawl when the AI vendors pivot to being profitable? That's a really good question.
It's a fantastic one. So here's my 2 cents on this. I don't think it's truly a bubble because the outcomes of using AI are real. So so I think a couple things. One, it is very expensive. And to your point, James, I think what you're talking about is that there, part of the like there is a little bit of funding AI companies and trying to make it cheaper to use. But what we also need to pay attention to is that we're going to end up in a situation where not like the super model is going to be needed for every single usage task or type of task. And as we continue to invest in the technology as a society, I do think certain models are becoming cheaper from an energy perspective. And it's going to be a lot easier for people to understand, do I need like the ultimate model, like the high IQ model to figure out this question? Or do I need something that is, good enough? Like, what is my willingness to accept some failure? Because even the great models have something like 20% false positives. So I don't think that AI adoption is a bubble because it's very real, like as in the value created from adopting AI is truly real. I do think that there may be some pivots to becoming more profitable, but I also think that the technology is advancing at a pace that will allow us to also source cheaper ways of doing, like it's getting also more efficient, while like so costs will go down as well.
Yeah, and something, Rena, that you were talking about in in our upcoming survey, right? We're gonna see people that are having some
Yeah,
difficulty with the adoption rate. There are
I do.
detractors.
Yeah, I do think that what a lot of I could give so many. I will give you so many examples of projects. So I do think that with regards to AI adoption, what we haven't yet figured out is like the layers of like how to use it and where. And then so with and it's very, very expensive. So there have been a lot of studies already done about the surprises from a finance perspective around how much something actually costs, and it really degrades margins if you don't control the costs. And internally,
Mhm.
we use AI quite a bit, but always as a thinking partner, not to think for us, like that wouldn't work. A example of a project I'm literally doing right now is I'm using Claude Code to help dedupe our CRM. So our CRM AI is not perfect, and it can create duplicates when we use like when we try to understand product managers for our go-to-market motion. Like we have one too, right? Our company. And so I'm also using Claude Code. It's built a way to plug into our HubSpot and help assess duplicates. And so it's fantastic. It's also not perfect, so you have to
Yeah,
check
you
things
have
and
you,
see
you
where it
you
goes.
have to trust and verify, and even then, if someone in your organization asks it a question a certain way and you ask it the same question or change something, it's going to give you different things. And on a
Yeah.
personal, what was it? I played Bunko for the first time like in a while, and one of us used ChatGPT and the other one used Copilot, and someone else used something else. We both got different rules on how to play Bunko.
Yeah.
Okay, had no idea, but yeah.
So I welcome everybody
Hmm.
to also reach out if you have more questions. We're at time right now, but if you have more questions, you can reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn, Rina Alexin, and then I'm happy to talk to anybody one-on-one as well. Thank you so much, and thanks, Cynthia, for moderating
Thanks,
with me.
thanks everyone. Happy to have you here.
All
Bye.
right, bye.